What's going on YouTube? This is Kid Gemini with another video today. And this time I'm going to be doing a movie review for the last entry of the Maze Runner franchise, The Death Cure. It stars Dylan O'Brien, Aidan Gillen, Kaya Scodelario, Patricia Clarkson, Thomas Brody Sangster, and of course, Rosa Salazar and Ki Hong Lee. Let's get started. The Death Cure picks up where the Scorch Trials left off in the last movie, in which Thomas and the remaining members of the Right Arm who are resistant against Wicked are trying to rescue Minho and some of the immunes who have been captured by Wicked. And there's a little car chase that goes on in the beginning that sets the tone of the movie as an action dystopian thriller. And of course, Wicked is taking the immunes to the last city, which is one of the biggest cities that are left standing after the flare virus broke out, and they are experimenting on those kids as a means of trying to find a cure for the flare virus. Things go a little south when Thomas and the Right Arm realize that Wicked's last city is entirely controlled and also has a lot of high security. And so Teresa, after betraying the Gladers and the Right Arms in exchange for trying to find a cure with Wicked, is conflicted after the incident, and she's trying to figure out whether she's doing a right thing or if she's just adding more fuel to the fire and killing the kids as a means of getting the cure and just experimenting on them. So there's a lot of conflict not only with her, but also with the other people in Wicked, such as Jansen, who's intent on getting revenge on Thomas after trying to break the immunes out, and also trying to kill him when they find out that they are going to experiment on him. Ava Page is also trying to convince Teresa that she's doing the right thing and that she's almost giving up on herself to find the cure, because the more people that are getting infected, the less hope there is. One of the good things about this movie that I liked was the story. It was all straight to the point. There was nothing that really dragged on. There was no teeny bopper romance. There was no spiritual drama bullshit. It was all straight to the point. Everyone just started taking action. They started planning it out. They started running into a couple of obstacles and started overcoming them, which was a really good point. The cast did amazing as well. Dylan O'Brien is such a great actor. He just has that charisma and presence in the movies. Even if a movie's bad, you know he's going to be in it and he'll do just fine with whatever he's given. Not only does he balance out his action star and drama, but he also adds a bit of an emotional layer in which he really cares about Newt and is desperately trying to get the cure to him, and he wants to rescue Minho, and he still cares for Teresa even though he knows that she betrayed them just to work with Wicked, and that there's still a slight chance that maybe she'll rejoin the team. He was just super great in that role. I really wish him a lot of luck after that franchise has ended. Thomas Brody Sangster also does great as Newt, and the movie did a really great job focusing on Newt in his last moments, from when he joins the Right Arm to rescue Minho to the point where he gets infected by the flare virus and slowly loses himself along the way. It's just great, and it's saddening. Kaya Scodelario also does great as Teresa, who's conflicted with betraying her friends and trying to save the world, as does Aidan Gillen and Patricia Clarkson, who play really good villains, although Aidan Gillen could have been given a little bit more to work with Jansen based on development. And Will Poulter, who surprisingly, spoiler alert, is just, he returns as Gowling. He wants to redeem himself, and he's been working with the Resistance ever since to take down Wicked. So everyone in the cast did great. And I would like to mention that the chemistry between O'Brien and Brody Sangster was great. It's just, it also not only affects all the characters in the story, but it affects us as the audience, because we really enjoyed watching the journey from the very beginning, in which Thomas meets Newt for the first time in the maze, when they break out, when they're escaping from Wicked, and now they're retaliating. It's such a great journey emotionally, because no words to say else about that. It's just, when Newt loses himself, it's just sad. Wes Ball does a great job directing this movie too, and the action sequences are really well done. It is a little shaky at times, but it's not as bad as most action thrillers that I've seen in the past, especially the ones straight to video. It's a little focused, and it's trying to build up the intensity, and it's a little bit consistent from the beginning where the Right Arm chases after Wicked by train to the end where the Resistance breaches Wicked and breaches the big city and is trying to take the evil corporation down. So the action sequences were well filmed, and Westball did such a great job developing this movie. And I really hope that he also directs other action movies, other sci-fi movies, other fantasy movies after The Maze Runner. He really did a great job. The movie at 2.5 hours is good. It didn't split up into two parts, which would have been really, really bad, because movies like Hunger Games did okay with the two-part split with Mockingjay, but with Divergent, it was a failure based on Allegiant and the direction the story was going into. It just really wasn't captivating enough. But Westball said that if he was going to return to the third Maze Runner movie, which he did, he said it would not be split up into two parts, which was a good thing, because we basically saw the end of the world, the end of Wicked, and a new beginning all in one movie. So it was good that they didn't split up there. And another thing that I'd like to add was that they never changed directors after the first Maze Runner. Westball stayed with this franchise for good. It's just, I mean, not that replacing directors is bad. It's just sometimes you never know what ideas another director could have. But Westball was in this movie from the very beginning when he did the first Maze Runner, focusing on the kids escaping, to the Scorch trials when they break out of Wicked and go into the Scorch to find a resistance, to this where they fight back against Wicked and try to find a new beginning. So not a lot of directors do that with franchises nowadays, except for George Lucas with his original Star Wars and the prequels to Star Wars. What I did feel mixed about was that there was no montage in the beginning in terms of giving a little recap as to what happened in the previous two movies that are leading up to this moment right now in the Death Cure, because maybe a lot of people would have forgotten what happened in the Scorch trials or in the Maze Runner, and to give them a little recap would have been fine, so they could have been able to refresh their memory and see what was going on that was leading up to the events. If they added a bit of a montage, that would have been a little better. Another point that I really felt mixed about in the Death Cure was the fact that there wasn't really much of an explanation as to how Newt got infected if he was immune from the beginning. I mean, it did state that the virus was airborne, but it really didn't give a clear enough explanation as to how Newt could still get infected. If they added a bit of a hint as to how he would have gotten infected from the very beginning, then I think it would have made the movie a little better. The only complaints I have with this movie was Jansen's character. I felt like they could have developed Jansen a little bit more. They could have added a bit of a backstory as to why he was joining Wicked in the first place, besides the typical, I want to save the world, but it comes at a cost of sacrificing as many kids as possible cliche, and just add another layer there. And granted, it's not an Oscar award-winning movie or franchise, but it still would have been a little better to see more of Jansen and maybe develop the character to make the villain more interesting. Another bad point about this movie was the time. Not that it was too long or was too short, it was perfectly fine. I just wish they could have added a little bit more runtime as a means of explaining why the Gladers were put in the maze in the first place. And like I said with the montage, not a lot of people are going to remember this movie. And to give them a little refresher, let's say towards the end before Thomas goes in to face off against Jansen, there could have been an explanation as to why they were put there in the first place for some people who aren't familiar with the movie or who don't remember much of the first two movies. So maybe a little refresher there would have been fine. With all that being said, I'm going to give The Maze Runner: The Death Cure a B. This is one of the best young adult franchises that I've ever gotten myself into. There was not a lot of romance, which was good. It was all focused on action. It was all focused on story. It was all focused on friendship and teamwork. And it's one of those rare franchises that you at first start doubting, oh, this franchise is gonna be okay. But then later when you start reading the books and you start watching the movies and you see the differences between this and Hunger Games and the Divergent series and Mortal Instruments, you just have a better appreciation of what kind of themes young adult stories can embrace, with the dystopian future, with the mazes, with the zombies, with Wicked. It just really sucked me in real good compared to Hunger Games and Divergent. Post a comment down below telling me what you think of this movie. If you enjoyed The Death Cure, if you're sad to see this franchise end, or if you have anything bad to say about the movie, what you like, what you didn't like. Hit the like button if you enjoyed my review, and as always, subscribe for more content. This is Kid Gemini signing off. To 1,000 subscribers. Woo!